Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I'm very gravelly Chris Clements. You know, this chess thing, I know everybody has had it or is getting it or whatever. It lingers. It's like the Cranberry song. Just lingers. Just lingers for weeks.
You have to let it linger.
You have to let it linger. And since we celebrated St. Patrick's Day this week, it is very appropriate.
Very appropriate. Sing Cranberries.
Like I get up in the morning, I feel pretty good. I go work out, feel pretty decent. And then like 3 hours later, I'm like, I can't breathe.
Hopefully you'll get over this.
Hopefully I won't die today. That would be nice.
Don't die today. Don't die today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today.
So there are, again, we start with one of those just like, come on. So remember when Justice Kavanaugh was going through his hearings and then confirmed for the Supreme Court.
One of the craziest hearings
and then
ever.
Sometime shortly after that, there were like serious attempts on his life.
Yes.
An assassin was stalking his house and was stopped.
Yes. All true.
There were threats against other conservative members of the Supreme Court and have been continuously. And nobody on the liberal side said boo about it.
No, including Merrick Garland.
Not one little like... No.
Including the FBI, Christopher Wray.
Right.
Really wasn't an outcry on their end.
Right. But now we have some judges who are ruling against Trump and have received some threat.
They're not even Supreme Court justices.
No, but they've ruled against Trump and they've had some threats lodged against them. No attempts, but some threats. Well, not appropriate. But the press and the liberals are freaking out.
Yeah.
You would think that this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. I mean, it is. We've gotten to the point.
The threats on the Supreme Court, though, have not stopped. I read the other day that the sister of Amy Coney Barrett was threatened in North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah. Received a death threat.
The point is that
that's frightening.
We are. It has gotten ridiculous how hypocritical the left is. The progressive left is in every single case. I mean, there's between, we talked about the filibuster issue. We talked about
Senator Pink Tutu
all over the place.
And she brought the receipts over the weekend. It really was a sight to behold.
Yeah. And
we're talking, of course, of Kirsten Sinema.
Yes.
For those of you who don't realize the reference to the Pink Tutu.
Who will go down in history as one of the more important senators to ever be in the institution?
She stood fast when other people caved, along with Joe Manchin.
100%. I mean,
and now, it's interesting to watch Senator Schumer get raked over the coals by the left for actually doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And his reasoning in doing the right thing is absolutely correct. I don't agree with Senator Schumer on anything, but by not voting to shut down the government, they actually continue. The CR was just spending that they had already approved at a level they had approved that they all voted for.
Yep.
It was Joe Biden's spending. They just weren't spending any more.
Right.
Now, you shut down the government, guess what? He's absolutely right. Donald Trump and Doge have carte blanche.
Yep, they start pulling back on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Even more than what they've done.
You think Elon Musk has a chainsaw? Give that man a Jason mask and just let him go to work.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily disagree with.
No, I mean,
you're going to break some China, and there's going to be setbacks, but they're moving at such a pace. I think that's the biggest frustration with the left.
Well, and
even with these court cases.
Yes, and we've talked about this. We've I think we touched on this in the last episode, that on the judiciary, that they have been legislating from the bench for decades.
Absolutely.
If they wanted to actually be a legislator, they should run for the Congress.
Yeah.
Not be a judge, because that's not the role. And we're now pushing back on that, and I think that's important.
What's interesting about this judge, James Bossberg, who's trying to get these 250 illegal aliens, this people back from El Salvador, they aren't really, at least what I've seen by the reporting. I haven't read the transcripts of the hearings, but it doesn't seem like they're really trying to adjudicate the validity of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. He's just trying to assert, like, you have to do what I say.
Oh, really?
That's
insane.
That's what it seems like.
Well, I mean, that's BS, because the whole point of a judge is to determine whether the actions are constitutional.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that's what they're trying to prove. He's just saying, I gave an order.
You defied me, and
I
so
gave an
now we're
order.
gonna fight over
You
it.
defied me. We're going to have a hearing on the fact that you defied me. And now I want all this other extraneous information with regard to flight times and personnel and all this other stuff. And you're refusing to give it to me, even though, and what he said in his defense, Secretary Rubio had already kind of told everybody about it.
Right.
And what the government is pressing back on is saying, no, what you're asking actually is above all that, and we're not going to give it to you, and we're gonna put this on appeal. So, and then in the meantime, there's evidence, I guess, that his daughter is like a big fundraiser, is part of a nonprofit that helps these murderous criminal gangs stay in the country.
Jeez. Seriously?
Yes.
Because there was
the Free Press had something on that the other day, that his daughter is actually part of the cabal that is trying to defend illegal gang members to stay in the country.
Well, that's not a conflict of interest at all. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's just like the judge in New York.
Yeah.
And his daughter was raising money off the trial of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Just it's a huge cabal, and the freak out overall, and we go back to Doge and the chainsaw. The freak out overall is that they're threatening their money supply.
Yeah.
They're threatening, the gravy train is ending.
Right. That's why they're freaking out.
Even this ruling with regard to USAID. So the ruling, I'm paraphrasing here, basically said that you have to give USAID employees back access to their emails and their phones and all this other stuff, and Elon Musk overstepped his bounds in dismantling USAID. Well, it wasn't Elon Musk that did any of that. Right. It was actually Marco Rubio.
Right.
Because he assumed responsibility almost immediately, brought USAID under the purview of the State Department, and off we go. So, and what the judge said is that Elon Musk is not, neither elected, and he hasn't gone through the confirmation process of Congress, and therefore he's, as an appointed advisor, he has no authority to do that. But Marco Rubio does.
Yeah.
99-0 says he does.
Yep.
And so that's just going to continue. The ruling is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this stuff will play itself out. We'll watch this.
But your point last time, which was a great point, is the administration wants this fight.
Yeah.
They want this fight all the way to the Supreme Court.
We need to have the conversation about what the role of the judiciary is, because it is outside the bounds of what the founders envisioned.
Yeah, completely.
Miles outside the boundaries.
Yeah, the judiciary is not the decider of our Constitution.
No.
That relies on all three equal branches of government.
Well, I mean,
the problem that we have
the voice
in
of
this
the
country,
people. It's the elected officials that
Exactly.
are that represent the people who put them there.
Yeah, and the fight in all of this is, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have a fourth branch of government, and that's the bureaucracy, and that's what we're trying to dismantle.
Yeah, exactly.
The deep state,
And
that is not elected and should have no authority over how our taxpayer money is wasted away.
So there's a story out today, and the purpose of the story is to paint a picture about the United States that is negative. And this is an annual UN survey. It's a happiness survey.
Oh, I read about this.
And
I didn't know you were going there, but yes.
The U.S. has ranked the lowest it's ever ranked, like 24th.
24th, yeah.
And
Finland is number one, right?
Finland's number one. U.S. happiness sinks to a new low. And I dug into this because I was like, okay, I understand that the UN has their thoughts about the United States, particularly when Trump is the president. They're not happy about that. So they'll do what they can to see. I guess the first time that they reported this this study was in 2012, and we were at number 11. It was the highest we've ever been.
All right.
So it turns out that guess when the survey was done?
I know, but I'm going to let you tell us.
It was done in July of 2024.
Yeah, and what was happening in July of 2024?
Well, we had a president whose dementia was on full display, having just gone through the debate.
In unison, ladies and gentlemen.
We had the leading candidate for the Republican Party under an assassination attempt.
Yeah, was just shot.
I think July of 2024, people were a little bit on edge.
People thought our republic was falling apart.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot. I
think people don't understand. Well, I think people do. If Donald Trump had not turned his head the way he did at the moment he did, and he had been assassinated, this country would be totally different right now.
Totally different. Yeah,
completely different.
Yep.
And just by the grace of God, really.
Yeah,
you can't explain it any other way.
You really can't.
And then at the same time, the reveal, the great reveal on June 24th, to people who weren't paying attention somehow, who were living in mom's basement watching Netflix, probably all of our, the deep state folks, that Joe Biden is suffering from severe dementia.
Yeah.
And now to play off of that, we now realize that most of Joe Biden's orders were done by autopen.
Autopen, yeah. Which means we don't know whether he knew.
What did he know, and when did he know it, if anything?
If anything.
So this narrative and the unhappiness project of that, it's going to expand. There's no way around the reveals that will be happening because of Joe Biden's dementia.
Right,
is what I'm trying to say, and it's unbelievable. I read this one article this morning about Donald Trump. I guess he did an interview on Fox a couple of days ago and was asked about what do you admire most about Joe Biden. he said his ability to sleep.
Oh my gosh.
It was with Laura Ingraham. And that's right. And he said, I've never seen a person who could go to the beach, stick his feet in the sand within 5 minutes, and he's completely asleep. Yeah. That's why he was Sleepy Joe.
Yeah. Well, and Trump doesn't sleep that much.
He sleeps 4 to 5 hours a night.
That's not healthy.
He sleeps 4 to 5 hours a night. We know people who will get texts 3 a.m.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway,
what are you doing?
So
this is what I'm thinking.
The point of all this is that it'll be interesting to see what the happiness survey looks like next year.
Yeah.
So let's be on the lookout because that will be apparently done sometime in July of 2025.
Well, and a lot of that happiness is is economical, really.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see by next year at this time, hopefully, and this is absolutely the end game on this. We said it the other day. The Trump tax cuts will be extended. The new tax cuts, which are, just killers for Democrats if they don't vote for them, meaning no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, et cetera, et cetera. Our friend Russ Vought will have had a year in the office to take not a scalpel, but an actual chainsaw to the regulatory environment our small businesses are under. We'll see a lot of changes in our economy because of that, and we'll see where we are with tariffs.
Yeah. It'll be very interesting to see.
And
I think people are going to be happier
and
this
we'll
year
see
than last.
on the foreign policy side, will the war with Hamas have wound down, and what will be the future of Ukraine?
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned Hamas. This is another, go off on another tangent. I had the opportunity, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Kate, who just recently became Jewish, converted to Judaism, invited me to go to a screening of a documentary called October 8. And, obviously it shows a lot of the footage of the Hamas footage that they filmed themselves of October 7th, and then interviews a number of people who were there, other people here in the United States who watch the anti-Semitism grow. And it really drills into what's been happening on the college campuses, Columbia and others. There's some. It is a remarkable documentary, and I highly, highly encourage everyone to watch it. This goes on the same theme that we hit on a couple episodes about the rise of anti-Semitism. This is a great lesson. And you get a chance to kind of better understand how this has all happened, dating back 30 years when Hamas leadership in the United States was recorded by the FBI in a meeting talking about how they were going to try to infiltrate education, media,
of course,
universities, and the way they were going to characterize the Palestinian problem, that this is a fight for equality and justice and all this and what Israelis are doing to the Palestinians is nothing short of genocide and blah 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 blah. Yeah, and it is they if you look back at the conversation that they were having in 1993, and you look at today, they have been insanely successful. Yeah. And it is tragic. It is awful. And they've had the help of, obviously, Iran, who funds them, but also help from Russia and China and North Korea in the way that, of course, especially with social media and TikTok in particular, where, they showed that the stats are for every pro-Israel video on TikTok, there were 54 pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas videos. Yeah. Well, of course, our young people are totally misguided on this.
Yeah, it is cultural Marxism at its finest, and the left has facilitated all of it, which is 100%. Why they're falling on their sword.
And it's being funded
for all of it.
It's literally being funded by Iran and by terrorist organizations. Well,
and some of our money went to them. Yeah. How much money were we sending to Iran just recently?
Well,
Joe Biden single-handedly resurrected the oil fields in Iran.
Yeah. That's on top of the $8 billion that they put on a plane and
sent to Iran to pay off the Ayatollah. Yeah, we have been in a soft war with Iran since they took over our embassy in the 70s. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've never recognized it. We've never talked about it as a country or as a policy, from a policy prescription, but they have tried to influence people, through cultural Marxism and through their allies with Russia and to the extent China. And the college campuses are a perfect place to do that.
Yeah, and they've succeeded beyond their wildest imagination.
You know,
And
which
it's just
is
terrible.
why the Trump administration's deportation of these people with green cards or student visas is so important.
It is,
It is so important.
And it really, I mean, the outrage of people who are like, "Oh, you can't do that."
It's
I mean,
free speech.
These are people who have been offered the opportunity to be visitors here. Green card is a visitor, right? And if you don't live up to the rules of the game, then you are invited to leave. Yeah. And we've really never actually held people accountable.
Well, no.
And so now that we are, people are like, "Oh, well, you can't do that." Well, yes, absolutely we can. It's actually in the law.
Yeah.
In the Immigration and Naturalization Act, it is in the law. If you are here as a visitor, if you're on a green card or a visitor visa, and you are doing things that are counter to the interest of the United States, you are deportable. 100%. Boom, gone.
But even if you're just here flaunting and violating the immigration law, and ICE knows about you, and they're trying to get you. There's an article in the New York Post this morning, top of the post on their website, about this woman who lived in Colorado, had been here for better part of almost 2 decades. And the ICE knew about, but she had gotten asylum in different churches, and led the anti-ICE movement on college campuses and around Colorado. They finally arrested her yesterday in the Target parking lot and wherever after all these years. And people are outraged. It's like, no. This doesn't happen in any other country.
No.
Where we allow these people to usurp our laws, stay for a period of time, claim asylum, when they're just trying to be here to live off the dole of anything.
Yeah.
Did you see the case of the professor at Brown, where she was caught at the airport, and they searched her phone, and she had just come back from the Middle East, and they found all these lovely pictures of the Hezbollah, the head of Hezbollah, and his funeral. Oh, she had just been there. She tried to delete them, and then she found all these wonderful pictures of the Ayatollah. She was a mole for Iran in our society. And she's trying to play off oh, well, these are peaceful people. These are, the head of Hezbollah was a peaceful man and deserves to be respected. And that's her refrain as she's being arrested and deported back to Lebanon.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Turns out she's an Iranian mole in higher education. This is pervasive.
Yeah, we've got to get...
When they shout from the river to the sea, most people on college campuses can't name the river and can't name the sea.
Nope.
Which speaks to the ignorance of other people on this issue.
Right. And the fact that the terrorists are taking advantage of the ignorance, and we've got to do a better job of educating our young people, educating everybody. And so go to October, search out where you can find October 8, whether it's online or at a movie theater, and go watch it. Take as many people as you can. Highly, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I'm glad you watched it. I need to watch it too.
I'm very glad to watch it.
Yeah, and my filter is so ingrained in me, having been to Israel and toured the land and seen, been up on the Golan Heights, looked over into Syria, gone through the West Bank. Yeah, there's no two-state solution.
Well,
there can only be one state, and that's Israel.
And this
and I'll say
this documentary
proudly.
Points out that the Palestinians don't believe in a two-state solution.
No,
they want it to only be.
No, they want to. They not only
they want to
Israel. Well, we said it on one of the shows. Maybe it was the last show. Maybe it was, but they want to wipe out all the Jews. They want to kill every last one of them. Then they want to come for the Christians.
Yeah, no, it's intifada across the world
because we are the infidels.
Yeah,
And as long as at the moment we do not stand with Israel, we do so at our own demise.
Yes.
I firmly believe that.
I agree. I totally agree. Okay, so
Hate to put things in such stark terms,
it's true.
but it's very
true.
It's very true.
We have a vested interest in staying as close as we can to Israel and protecting them and being allies with them because they are, well, as we talked about, if you are Christian, if you read the Bible, if you believe in the Bible, then you know that the Jews are God's chosen people.
Absolutely.
Period. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, deal with it.
Well, go to Israel.
Yeah.
Tour Galilee if you're a believer.
Absolutely.
You know, things will calm down eventually. And I think people are still touring. They just don't care. They're like, oh, let's go.
A little bit of news over the last couple of days.
And Jerusalem is the capital, not Tel Aviv.
Right. The JFK files.
Yes.
Apparently, supposedly, they released all of them, but...
No, they released 30,000, I read, and then there's another...
I guess there's another tranche to come, right?
50,000? There's supposed to be 80,000 pages.
Wow. And it looks like most of that's been released was actually documents that were released before but redacted, and so they've been released again, but the redactions have been removed.
Yes.
And we don't really...
And some people are calling it a big nothing burger.
Yeah. So,
now, this is something near and dear to your heart because you firmly believe the CIA murdered our president.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what evidence would you propose where that would be the case?
Well, I mean, the fact that Kennedy is dead, I mean, he wanted to blow up the CIA into a million pieces. I mean, they knew he was coming after them. He was going to dismantle them.
Yeah.
That was his goal. And
do you believe that Lyndon Johnson had a role in that?
I don't.
There's a growing hypothesis that was the case.
Roger Stone claims that Richard Nixon told him that, both LBJ and I wanted to be president, and he was willing to kill for it. The difference between us is that he was willing to kill for it. So that implies that he was a part of it. Now, I mean,
didn't Barry Goldwater call Richard Nixon and LBJ two of the most corrupt politicians he's ever met?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's just an aside.
Yeah, clearly there's corruption. Whether LBJ was involved, I don't know.
Yeah. By everything I've read, I just do not believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone.
No, there's just
and I don't believe in the magic bullet. And for you to believe in the magic bullet, you have to believe in Fantasyland and Peter Pan.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally, you have to believe in just complete fantasy. I believe that? Let me back up a little bit. Do I believe that the CIA, as the CIA, was involved? That may stretch it.
Yeah, you believe
elements within
the CIA.
People who
they're long since dead, most likely.
Maybe. The question is, why haven't these things been released before? I mean, remember,
if there's such nothing burgers, why
Trump,
now?
That's in Trump's first term, he was like, "Yeah, I can't release it." I mean, because he had promised before. And then he came back and said, "Well, I really can't. It's too much." Of course, Biden was never going to do it.
No, well, Biden
released something. I can't remember what it was, but that was because Congress had acted.
No, it's only because Joe Biden was on the beach.
Yeah. So I am anxious for people who know a lot more than I do to dig through these things and to determine if there's anything there. Now, so far, it appears, but I don't know how people get through 30,000 pages.
Well, and especially if there's 50 coming.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know all the things yet that are out there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been a few little interesting things we've read about, different CIA operations and how they did things and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it will create more fodder for more discussion, for sure.
Yeah, there's been a couple things that have been revealed about how the CIA was operating at that time and how they were trying to undermine the Cuban government and their safe houses in Maryland. And the Wall Street Journal had an extensive article about that. But those aren't like smoking guns, and
No.
and they certainly don't. They don't. It doesn't make sense that those would not be released.
Yeah,
I don't think they fall into the aura of top secret. In terms of sources and methods.
Yeah.
All these years later,
Right.
it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 60 years later,
Yeah. I mean,
60 something years later, and they're worried about stuff like that. If that's what truly they were worried about, it's got to be something more.
yeah.
That makes no sense.
That's why I'm anxious to see how what actually plays out. So,
Yeah, I go back to my initial point. I mean, magic bullets?
no.
I don't think so. Bullets don't do that.
Yeah. So I have been personally targeted.
Targeted?
There is
Targeted by
the it's called Dogequest.
Dogequest.
Dogequest is a website which has doxed every Tesla owner in the country.
Oh, wow.
And my household has 2 Teslas, so we're double doxed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is domestic terrorism at its finest.
Yeah. So
How would they get that information?
I think they hacked into Tesla's databases, I guess. The quote is, at Dogequest, we believe in empowering creative expressions of protest that you can execute from the comfort of your own home. So search out my name, find out where I live, and go protest the fact that I drive a Tesla. So
That's scary. That's absolutely frightening. In many ways.
I own a Tesla, but I also own other things that are much more lethal.
Much more. just gonna tell you right
Put it
now.
out there, just be prepared.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's a short-term sort of blow up, and eventually, once people start really, if Pam Bondi, who I have my reservations about because she spends more time on Fox News than she does actually going after criminals. If she actually does, if people start going to jail over this and they reveal a larger conspiracy in terms of who's funding it, that's going to be. That's one thing about the last Trump administration they weren't serious enough about, and that is going after the perpetrators of extreme violence. Yeah, and in this case, if it's always the extreme left.
It's always
the extreme left. I keep wondering, where is the Christian violence? Where are those Latin-loving Catholics? Where are they?
Yeah.
Those people praying outside the abortion clinics. What are they doing? Where are their explosives? They have none.
Right.
They're a danger to our society, but they sit and pray regardless.
Right. Well,
instead, you got the Antifas and the crazies and the George Soros funded whomever bombing Tesla dealerships.
Yeah. Well, Bondi, on one of her Fox News appearances, said that she was
we're
going to come after anybody who goes after a Tesla or a dealership or does these kind of attacks. So I mean, and what's interesting is the whole premise of Teslas and the whole self-driving is driven by cameras. So each of those cars have many, 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 many cameras.
Yes.
So for people to think that they can go after a Tesla and not be captured on camera as a result, there's going to be lots
I think
of
Trump
evidence.
made that point too when he was asked about it at a press conference. He said, well, there's cameras everywhere. So I'm sure we're going to get a picture of who these people are.
Yeah. I mean,
those dealerships have cameras everywhere. The Teslas have.
Well, the
cameras
Teslas themselves have cameras all over. I mean, I can see anybody who walks anywhere close to my Tesla.
That's
this, yeah,
yeah.
So,
well, the whole thing is ridiculous, and I think it's not. The other point of trying to target Elon Musk for what? For finding waste, fraud,
right.
abuse, knocking down, firing. Elon didn't do this. He just revealed who the people were not working, not coming to work. I mean, there's been a process by which you either were going to play ball or not play ball. So today, the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of, I would say, conservative fever dreams over the past 40-something years, Donald Trump is going to be having a press conference sometime today. Maybe it's happening right now. I don't think so. I think it's this afternoon to fully dismantle the Department of Education.
Right.
Of which half of which employees have already been sent home.
Yeah, and I think they're doing this very effectively because they are saying we're going to, dismantle under executive order as much of it as we can under executive order.
Absolutely.
While continuing to carry out the functions that are statutorily required until we can figure out how to change the statute and that kind of thing. So with the purpose of shifting education back to the states.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
apparently a bunch of Republican red state governors are going to be there at the
as they
signing
should.
of the EO.
I mean, this is a return to the original intent of the Constitution. This is federalism.
Federalism.
Shocking.
Federalism. Shocking. Yes. What will the states do with all that money?
Yeah, I was. I heard Congressman Andy Biggs at an event yesterday. Yeah. The way he described being a Congressman,
sure.
the way he described it was, you wake up every morning, and it's Christmas morning, and you go to bed, and it's New Year's Eve. It's like every day is awesome.
Yeah.
In Washington right now, because
every day is awesome. Yeah. We're living in Legoland
because the stuff that Trump had promised, he's carrying out.
Yeah.
And with great
and
rapidity.
with the full understanding that the left is going to fight in the courts, and they want that fight.
Yeah, they want the fight. And the fact that he won so resoundingly in the Electoral College and he won the popular vote gives him that mandate. I mean, this is what people voted for.
Yeah.
You can't say anything otherwise. I mean, this is what people voted for.
Well, it begs the question also, and hopefully that he talks about it today, is if you ask anyone, so what does the Department of Education do? Legitimate question. Like, what do they do? They don't hire and fire teachers.
No.
They're a student loan program.
Well,
they're a Pell Grant program.
Well, that, and they inject regulations upon states and districts constantly.
Yeah.
Which is going away. Oh, the other thing, the EPA has dismantled something like 36 or 30-something regulations that have been very damaging to growth across the country.
Lee
Zeldin is going to town.
Lee Zeldin's got 2 chainsaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently
a judge, I just saw an article, told him that the grants that he had canceled, that he can't cancel those grants. The $20 billion of gold bars that got thrown over the Titanic or whatever. And so that's another appeal.
Yeah. Another fight.
Which he has every right to cancel.
Where judges
I guess the money was actually sitting at Citibank, and they told Citibank you can't distribute it.
And the judge says, no, you have to.
Yeah, you have to, because
it's like because
all these fake environmental groups, including one run by Stacey Abrams, that were getting billions, and they do
$2 billion.
Yeah, they do nothing. They're not there to. I mean, it's a whole cabal, intertwined web of.
Yeah.
I was reading the article this morning about nonprofits, environmental nonprofits that were formed like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
to then dole out grants that they get from the money they get from the federal government.
Right.
But really all they're doing is just paying themselves.
Speaking of dismantling, it appears that Carrie Lake has been a part of dismantling VOA. That's going away pretty much.
Well, good for her.
Which is exactly what we had suggested when we found out she was going to
I think
go
she
over
should
it.
be a news reporter. I think she should go back to her true calling. Go back to the anchor desk. You know, maybe she could be on one of the Fox and Friends people.
Yeah.
One of the outnumbered people.
Yeah. She could be on OAN or
Yeah.
News Nation or
You know, the
Newsmax.
outnumbered show on
Yeah.
Fox
Oh.
where they have all the women
and then
and then the dude. Yeah, she could be on that show
yeah.
with Paris Faulkner, who actually I saw at Tarbell's one night.
Is that right?
Yeah, she was here in town.
Yeah. There you go.
Very tall.
Really?
Yeah,
Did not know that.
yeah.
But
But Carrie Lake, yes, I think that's your calling. Go on Outnumbered. Be a person on Outnumbered
Fox News.
on Fox News. Don't run for office again.
I don't think she'll do that.
Not working.
I don't think she'll do that. Well, I think
You've exhausted us.
I've exhausted all the things I was going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the things I want to talk about, you already exhausted me.
Well,
You know, I was really interested in if you had a much more nuanced opinion on the JFK stuff. We have RFK stuff coming, apparently, and Martin Luther King stuff coming,
Yeah.
apparently. We still have not seen anything on Epstein.
no, I thought that was coming too. What happened?
That, you know, again, Pam Bondi and her binders.
You're blaming Pam Bondi on that one.
Nah, I just don't think she's kind of a tart. Just don't think she's really serious. If you were serious, you would not be on Jesse Waters every night or Hannity every night. You would be doing the job. Like I think I said this before. I think Kash Patel and Bongino, they're serious. They are serious.
Well,
They're out doing whatever
okay,
they need to do.
I will push back a little bit
Okay.
because, I mean, she's got a lot of people who work for her, and she sets the tone for the department, and she's going on TV after hours.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I'm waiting to see. I'm giving her more of a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I was much more a Mike Davis guy. He seems to be, he throws the grenade and he really just watches it blow up. And he seems fearless. I think he would have been a better choice, but maybe something was there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
We need to have him on our show.
If you want to make that decision, then you got to go get elected president.
Yeah. My only opinion. I mean, I don't know. I think every other choice has been really actually quite good.
Oh, I mean, it has been a remarkable thing to watch.
I love Linda McMahon. I didn't think I would like her as much as I do, but when she has been on the TV or whatever, and she's like, and they're like, "Are you going to be dismantling the Department of Education?" And she's like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So you're gonna deregulate yourself out of a job. Well, this isn't my job. I'm here to serve the American people.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's why we are in the mess that we're in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The picks have been people who don't need to do this.
No,
This isn't a resume builder. This isn't a stepping stone. This is I am answering the call to serve this country, and I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to go back to what I was doing before.
or do something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a nice career, nice home life. I don't need the headache.
I mean, they don't need it.
I mean, again, back to Elon Musk. His stock is down 50%. You got people doxing Tesla owners. But he did have a massive victory this week, which I was surprised you didn't talk about.
What's that?
He sent the spacecraft up to
yeah. Yeah, why didn't we talk about that? He did. I mean,
he sent SpaceX up to the space station and brought the people home.
And our friend Mark Lamb, Sheriff Mark Lamb, made the point that, Senator Kelly went on social media, talked about how he's getting rid of his Tesla and he bought a Chevy Tahoe or Suburban or something
About
instead.
a gas guzzler.
Yeah. Okay.
A white one, which means he's about ready to start campaigning.
And yet he's not said word one. This is an astronaut. It's not said anything about Elon Musk rescuing the 2 stranded astronauts that were on the space station.
Which I'll take Musk at his word that his offer to do so back in July was rebuffed.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want anybody who supported Donald Trump to get the glory. Meanwhile, those people
So
stayed
why
up
they
there
stuck
another
them up there for
7-8
extra months. It's insane.
Big black eye for Boeing again.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who is doing Doge, doing space. He's not getting paid to do any of that.
Yeah. Oh, I did see that
It's a conflict of interest.
The valuation on Twitter is going back up.
I'm sure.
It's getting closer to, the valuation of where he bought it. So
Listen, God bless Elon Musk for buying Twitter,
fundamentally
calling
changed.
it X.
Yeah. Fundamentally changed the trajectory of the fight over the First Amendment.
Absolutely.
In the right direction.
Absolutely. I mean, America is fundamentally a conservative nation, and those voices were being silenced.
Yeah.
On social media.
Exactly.
You know who said that? Barry Goldwater.
That's right.
We are fundamentally a conservative nation. And yet, if you would watch the press or see what's going on college campuses, you would think otherwise.
Yeah. Small little piece of a much greater part.
Yeah.
All
Faith,
right.
freedom, free enterprise.
There you go.
Founding principles of our great country.
And thank you for listening. Like and subscribe.
Yes.
Wherever
5 stars everywhere.
Watch or listen. And thank you for doing it because we we love doing it. And we appreciate the
and
listening.
Enjoy Christmas, enjoy New Year's, because tonight it'll be New Year's,
Every day.
tomorrow with this administration, like Congressman Biggs said, it'll be Christmas.
All right, thanks everybody.
God bless.
Take care.